Mark today. We're going to kind of be jumping around everywhere because I love it all. But our anchor scripture is going to be in Mark 6, okay? So last week we talked about, what did we talk about? Anybody? Okay. Standing firm. How Jesus calms the storm. We kind of got out of the wilderness. We were talking about wilderness for a while and how we just need to get up in it. And then now we're kind of just moving forward into a place of now that we're out of this wilderness, or we can make a way in this wilderness, what are we going to do with it? So last week we kind of talked about standing up and standing firm. So this week we're going to pick up in Mark 6, verses 45 and 51, but we're going to be jumping around everywhere, but I want to sit this first. So immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. After leaving them, he went up onto a mountainside to pray. Later that night, the boat was in the middle of the lake, and he was standing alone on land. He saw the disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them, walking on the lake. He was about to pass them by. But when they saw him walking on the lake, they thought he was a ghost. They cried out because they all saw him and were terrified. Immediately, he spoke to them and said, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." Then he climbed into the boat with him, and the wind died down. I love that. I love it. Because I love how scripture is so relevant in living and can talk to exactly where we are in seasons that we were just going through or are currently going through. And it's still relevant, and it's been written years and years ago. I think it is just an amazing thing, and I love this story because it's messy. It's a mess. You know, here they are back, and it's like they never get out of the boat. They're back in this boat, and they're fighting the wind again. And they're frightened, they're terrified, and Jesus says, well, it's a mess. There's a lot going on. And there's so many times where I've just been in a mess, where I can't see out of it. You know, how many times have you been in a mess that just wants to consume all your thoughts? That it wants to consume your rational thinking. You know, it wants to just overtake you and make you think like you will never get out of this mess. That this mess you're going to have to walk around in for a while. That it wants to take you down. It wants to steal your joy. It wants to steal the value of who you are and who God has really made you to be. And so many times I find myself in this mess. You know, some issues and heartache that seems to be continuous. That seems to be constantly going in circles. And no matter how many sermons you hear, how many times you open up the Word, it's like this constant mess that is a circle. And you keep walking, but it seems like it's always around you. And I feel like this is what's going on in this story right here. And a lot of these messes, why they get me so much is because they put filters on my eyes. You know, like it's just a storm, but it puts filters of depression. It puts filters of offense, and we start seeing things that were never there, or seeing things that aren't there to the point of depression, that there's these storms, but there's supposed to be little ripples, but we have all these filters of lies and all these filters of things that aren't really there, and they become this crazy mess that wants to like overtake our boat, and that's where it's a lie. These filters aren't true. These aren't truths. These are things that we allow to just, and they build on each other. You know, it starts as pain or like betrayal, but then it becomes bitterness and anger and offense, and now you're walking around not trusting anybody and hating everybody and not even being able to pray for those that have hurt you. These lenses, they just keep going, and they put filters not only of our eyes but then on our hearts. They build walls, and not only can we not feel them anymore, but God can't speak to them anymore. And I want to talk about that tonight. I want to talk about our mess. I want to talk about this messy situation, because life is a mess. Like every other day, if not every day, we find ourselves in a mess. And I think it's so important, the filters that we allow, we have to allow God to strip them away. But we have to first recognize that they're there. that we are walking around in offense, that we are walking around bitterness, we are walking around depressed, we are walking around with these lies over our mind and over our hearts. We first have to realize they're there. And tonight I want us to allow God to remove them completely. Right. But I want us to be honest with where we are in our mess. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with God, and then He can't get in it. And I think it's so important, because in the place of this mess, of all the noise, because man, it's noisy. It's noisy everywhere. Like every time I'm trying to pray, I swear there's noise. You know, like everywhere I go, I'm just trying to worship in my car, and there's people beeping at me, and I didn't even do nothing wrong. There's noise everywhere. And on our phone, we're trying to read the Bible app, but we keep getting notifications, and there's noise. We're trying to go to church, but then someone needs something, or there's so much noise. And I think if we could just be honest, that in every single mess, there's a miracle. Right. Every single mess, if we perceive it, God is right in the midst of it. And man, it's up to us to see it, because He's there. He's everywhere. But do we have the eyes to see it, or do we have all these lenses and all these filters that aren't true, causing us to miss what God is doing right in the middle of this mess? Because there's way too many times that I've been guilty of this, that I've been caught up and so wrapped up in my own mess that I could not see God in it. And there was no way that I was crying out to Him in it. That I was just so weighed down with guilt and shame that I wanted to just be in that mess. I didn't want anyone to see me in this mess. I didn't want to own my mess. I wanted to sit in it and wallow in it. I think it's so important that when we do want to isolate ourselves in this mess, that is the same time that we get into a group, that we get around some people, that we pick up the phone or we ask for prayer, because it is a dangerous spot. Like, I could say this every single time I talk to you guys. Isolation is horrible in any way. And there's so many times that I've had these filters over my eyes, seeing nothing but lies. I was so caught up in an abusive relationship that it began to just put these layers and filters over my eyes that weren't true. That you're not valued, that you're not loved, that you deserve this, that you did something to cause this. That's a lie. That's a lie. And I started to believe the biggest lie, that I could fix this on my own. I can make things go back to just how they were before He ever laid a hand on me. I could do this. You know, I'm going to be the best girlfriend. I'm just going to go above and beyond, and there's no way that He can get mad at me. That I'll just walk around on eggshells and I don't need to let anybody know, and I'll just handle it. I got this. That is the biggest lie that I could have ever told myself, is I got this. I got this on my own. That I was so consumed in the chaos, in the noise, that I didn't see it for what it was. That it had nothing to do with Him, but it was about the Spirit and that behind Him. Right. The anger or the hurt or whatever was going on with Him was pouring through Him. And it wasn't about Him, and it wasn't about anything but the Spirit behind it. But there was all these filters, and I was so consumed, and I thought I could do it. I didn't need anybody, you know, I'm just going to fix this thing on my own. What a joke. I missed Jesus in the middle of it. Because in my head, there's no way that God could use this. Have you ever been in such a painful mess that you think there's no way that this is going to be used for good? And I know what the Word says, but in my heart, there's no way. How is He going to use this? He's not in this. I must have pissed God off because I am alone in this mess. And this mess is just too much. That we take the pain and the betrayal and we let it fester there. That we're so stuck in the mess and stuck on the floor that we don't even give it to God. We can't even utter prayers about it. That I couldn't even be honest in private, honest to myself. Like, literally, I don't know what I did. I don't know. I went to a counselor. I try to not go to this, but I know I need them, so whatever. So I went to a counselor, and I was like, okay, shoot, like, I'm going to tell her this. And then she's going to judge me, and then she's going to, like, tell everybody, and then I'm going to have to tell everybody, and then I just want to hide my mess. I want everyone to think that I have it together. That when I go home and leave church, that I'm the same as how I walk in here. That I'm the same person that when I pray with them and this isn't really going on. Because I don't want to own up to it. I don't want to own up to my mess. And I went in there and I was like, look, this happened. And she looked at me And she said, I know you're not going to want to hear this. And everything in your mind is going to think against this. But it's going to get worse. And it's going to happen again. And it's going to happen again and again and again until you leave. And I'm just like, but you don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know my situation. I could fix it. And she's like, that's a lie. That you can't fix this on your own. And you have to see God in it. And you have to cry out to God in your mess. There's so many times that I have messed up and I have missed him in the middle of the miracle. And it's a lie to think that God doesn't want to do anything with it, because he says all things work out for good.
Right.
Not just some, not just the easy stuff, not the stuff that's beautifully publicized to the public, but all the stuff in the dark, he uses that for good too. All of it. And it's a lie, because in every single mess there's a miracle. But don't take my word for it. Look at scripture. So we're going back to the beginning of Mark. Jesus heals a man with leprosy. A man came to him and he begged him on his knees, if you're willing, make me clean. And immediately he said, be clean. And he asked him to be quiet about it, to not tell everybody, because there was masses of people around him. But of course he didn't listen, and he told everybody, and everyone was swarming him, and he had to leave, and he had to go to a lonely place. But then they followed him there anyways, and it's a huge mess. People everywhere, and this wasn't what it was intended to be. And then if you go down to Mark 2, Jesus heals a paralyzed man. That's the miracle in it. And people gathered in such large numbers that they couldn't even fit this man in here. They had to literally cut a hole in the roof, drop him at his feet, and he healed him. But people are sitting there judging him and mocking him and saying, I can't believe you healed this man. Or if you go down to Mark 5, Jesus heals a bleeding woman. And this lady, in the middle of this massive crowd, had to push and shove, and she's sick, and she's been sick for years, and she had to do everything that she could do to just touch the hem of his cloak. It's a mess. I couldn't even imagine being this lady, and I have to get him. I can't let him pass me by. It's a miracle and a mess, and Jesus was right in the middle of it. And then at the same time, he's restoring a girl back to life. That in the same messy miracle, he's in the midst of another miracle, and the guy's saying, please heal my daughter. He falls to his knees and he begs him, please just heal my daughter. And he does, and it's a mess, and people are laughing at him. In the midst of all these miracles, if you look back, people are laughing at him, they're rejecting him, they're misunderstanding him, they're not having faith with him. This was all before the disciples are with him, watching him do all these miracles. And then they miss him in the midst of theirs. I think it's so important because this is his reality. That he was mocked, laughed, rejected, and he was still doing miracles in the middle of the mess. And we're not alone in it. And we're never alone in it. Regardless of it, even if we're calling out to him, he's right in the middle of it. And the feelings might place filters, but the situations we find ourselves in, we have to give it over to him. We have to say, okay, God, I know I'm not seeing right. I know this isn't really what it seems, and these feelings are a lie, because feelings are pretty, they get me crazy. I got a lot of feelings, guys. And I have to get them out and surrender them at his feet the moment they come, because I go from like 0 to 60. Like all this energy goes the same way, the opposite way, if you know what I mean. Like I can get like 0 to 60 really quick in anger and in depression and all these anxiety. And I have to be like, no, that's a filter. That's not how I'm supposed to see. That's not right. That person didn't mean to offend me. They just cut me off. You know, like you just have to see it for what it is and not let the filters and the feelings control the way you react. Because I think it's so important. I began to read these miracles over and over again because I want to know how to not miss him, right? He's everywhere. Right. I want to see him in everything. I want to see him when it feels dark. I want to see him when I feel alone. I want to see him when I feel these things that are a lie, because he's there. But he says, do you have the eyes to perceive it? Or is your heart hardened? So I started reading this, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference? How come these people receive the miracle and these thousands? Because in every single one, there was so many people. How did they miss it? And what can I get from this? So I started reading them over and over, and the man, I'm just going to go through them. The man that he heals from leprosy came to him on his knees, and he begged him, take this from me, heal me. The man that was paralyzed had some friends that had so much faith that they would do anything, and they hoisted this. He's probably heavy as heck, man. They're like carrying him on this mat, and this back in the day, they don't have like forklifts and stuff. Like, they had to literally get this man on the roof, cut him down, and put him at the feet of Jesus. That is crazy to me. That the bleeding woman, she pushed and she shoved, and she was not going to let anybody miss her opportunity to see the miracle in midst of all the mayhem. Or the man with the dying daughter, he begged and he pleaded and he fell at his feet. He was a preacher. And it's just every single person had I got these three things in common for them. That they were all close to him. That they were all so close to him that they couldn't miss him. That they were so close that they were running and chasing after him with everything that they had. Are we close enough to him? Are we close enough that we can't miss him in the middle of this mess because my eyes are on him and I know he's the healer and I'm going to chase him and I'm going to keep going and I'm just going to be so close to him that I don't miss this? Are we close enough? Are you close enough to his word? Are you open enough to his worship? Are you close enough in his house? Are you dwelling and diving despite the feelings? Because there's way too many times where I don't feel like coming to church. Well, I don't feel like coming to Bible study. But that doesn't matter because I need it. I need to be close to him. Because the more that I'm close to him, I can't miss him. And I don't want to miss him because he's in every miracle. And the second thing is they all got low. They all got low before him. Are we willing to get low in the mess? Are we willing to fall on our knees and say, God, I need you. I can't do this on my own. I have done everything in my power. This woman spent all her money, all her resources, all her energy, 12 years. Are you low enough? Because I wasn't. I was like, I got this. I can do this. I'm going to fix this thing. I don't need nobody's help. I don't need anything. I'm going to do it. And that's just who I'm very independent. God doesn't want us to be independent from him. He wants us to depend on him. Are we low enough? Are we able to be honest with him? We can't hide anything from him. He made us. He knitted us together. That he wrote every single one of our days out. Why are we hiding things in our heart from him? You know, are we willing to be, okay, God, I know that I said I was going to forgive this person, but I locked this away in my heart, and I'm bitter, and I have some hate in there, and I'm allowing you to go in and get that out. Are we allowing him to do these things? Because he's right there. The third thing is, they were desperate. These people were desperate. There will come a time in your mess when you get desperate enough that I can't live another day in this thing. Are you desperate enough? That God, I know that if I don't seek you and run at you and do everything that this thing, it will consume me. It will get every truth that I have worked so hard to get in my heart. And it will just take it out. And then I will think that I'm not enough. I will think that I have lost this battle. I will start believing all the lies. Are you desperate enough? Do you need things to change enough? Are you willing to push every single person out of the way and say, no, I don't know what y'all are doing, sitting here chilling, watching Jesus go by, but I'm going to touch him because I need to be healed from this. I don't need to just come to church and hear the word and feel good for a day and then get hit by something and I'm back on my knees. No, I need this to change. I want to break this cycle and break this circle. I need this. I'm desperate. Are you desperate for him? I want to be desperate for him every single day because I know I need him every single day. Nothing else worked for me. I have tried everything. So God, that's it. I'm done. I'm done chasing everything else and being a bystander. I want to be a participator in this thing. I want to get healing. I want to get transformation. Because it was a horrible image that I had of myself. And it gets so distorted when we don't get honest. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow. When I can look back on it, I see, wow, I was crazy. Dang, I really thought I could fix that. I really thought that I wasn't in an abusive relationship. What a joke. You know, but we get these filters and these lies and we start believing them and we start walking in them and it becomes like this huge weight that we are never intended to carry, but it's because we're trying to carry it on our own. So are you desperate? They couldn't afford to miss him. They couldn't afford to miss the miracle, to let Jesus just walk by. Are you letting him walk by? There's so many times where I'm like, man, God's like healing all these people around me. What about me? Are you desperate enough? Are you seeking him enough? Are you close enough to him? Are you on your knees? Or are you just thinking everything's good, I got this? So get close, get low, and get desperate. But the great thing is, say this isn't for you, right? You're like, man, no, I'm good. Like that you just, this doesn't speak to you, right? But I have something for everybody else who thinks this isn't speaking to you. Mark 6, right? So these disciples were with him the whole way. It just kind of blows my mind. Jesus, the one who they watched and witnessed perform all these miracles and walked this whole way with them, leaves them for a moment to go pray and get some renewal up in this mountain, because he was human. I'm sure this was depleting and draining, and he was up there praying, and just taking a moment to himself, being still. And they're out on this boat, and he sees, like, man, okay, first of all, they're all like fishermen, like, what's up? Like, they can't handle the boat, So he's like, man, I'm just gonna go out. I see them like hurting over here. They're like killing their arms. They're gonna like destroy themselves. Let me go over here. Walks on the water, and he was about to pass right by them. That literally, he went from doing all these miracles right in front of them to they don't even recognize him because they're so consumed in the fear. They're so consumed in the mess and in the moment and in the noise that they almost let him walk right past him. And I love God. He's so good. Because immediately, man, he says he was about to pass by them. He could have just kept walking. He could have just been like, man, I just literally calmed the storm. A few chapters later, we talked about it last week, he calmed the storm when he was in their boat. And they don't even have enough faith a few chapters later to know that, man, I control the wind. I did this already. Like, you guys don't even recognize me. How little is your faith? But he didn't do that. Immediately, he said, don't be afraid. Take courage. And he gets in the boat. I love Jesus. He is so good. Because there's so many times where I deserved for him to just walk by, that I didn't recognize him, that I was so consumed that I let him almost walk by. But he had so much grace and mercy that he says, no. I know that you want to stay here, that you got thrown to the floor and you want to stay on the floor, but I love you so much that I can't leave you here. That I'm going to get down here with you, and I'm going to get in your boat, and I'm going to tell you to take courage, to get up again, to rise up again, because I'm here in the middle of this mess. And I know that you missed it before when I calmed the winds in the Sea of Galilee, but I'm going to do it again right here, and I'm going to do it again and again. And it's okay if you missed me last time, but open your eyes this time, because I control the winds, and I can calm the storms, and I'm in the midst of every single miracle. I love this. I love this about him, because we are never alone. And when he sees us struggling, I love it because he was off praying, and he still saw them. They were in view of him. That who knows how far away they were, but he knew that they were struggling. He saw that they were struggling, and they didn't call out to him. That struck me because he just saved them in the Sea of Galilee from the storm. And they cried out to fear. They didn't cry out to him. And he still chose to look at them and say, take courage. I'm going to get up in here. And I know you're not even asking me to, but I don't need you to. Because I'm going to meet you right in the middle of this thing. Right. And I know it feels like you're all alone. And you can't even utter out a prayer to me. But I'm here. And I'm going to get in this boat. And then the wind died down. And I'm so thankful. Because even when we do miss it, he's still here. There are so many nights that I cried out in fear, in terror, not even asking him to help me, just crying out, man, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to pretend this isn't going on. I'm just going to battle with depression on my own. I'm just going to live in this anxiety, and I'm going to walk around this place on eggshells and pretend this isn't going on. Because this is too messy. This is too much. These waves are too loud. And I'm so thankful that nights that I was on the floor, that he just got in the boat with me. He is in every single one of the messes that you're in. Even the ones you can't get out of. Even the ones that you can't even utter to people because they're full of shame and guilt. But he came so that we can walk in freedom. That we can just be yoked to him, learning from him, light with him. Not so that we can pick up all these things that we were never meant to carry and be drowned in the mess. And I think we have to realize that. Because he works best in the mess.
Right.
He works the best in the mess. All those miracles were loud and noisy. And probably, I don't even know. Like, I don't know how he does it, because I would just be like, y'all, you have no faith. You know? Like, literally, he is just so, I'm so thankful for him. Because he speaks right into our mess. And he meets us right in the place that we need him. And that he always sees us. That even when we're not in his dwelling place, in the right state of mind, even when we can't, he comes down and he says, man, I'm right here. Take courage, get up. I control the wind. I could be in this mess. I'm still here. I'm still in control, and I'm going to use this. If you just get up and start crying out to me instead of crying out to your mess, watch what I can do with it. Just allow me. Open up to me. Be honest to me. Be transparent. Because if we get desperate enough, we will get the change. We will get the healing. We will not let him pass us by. God, I need you way too much. I don't want to live in this one more night. I don't want the enemy to have my joy and steal these things from me that were never his in the first place. You know, he goes to the boat and he's just like, girl, didn't you see I saved you from taking your own life? That when life was too much for me and you popped all those pills, I was right there in that hospital bed. And even though you weren't crying out to me then and you missed me then in that mess, and now you're here on this floor stuck in this abuse, I'm going to be right here too, and I'm going to pick you up again. And if you can just start crying out to me and stop calling all these fears and all this terror and all this depression, I'm in control. I'm the miracle in the mess. Get desperate enough. Don't let him pass by. But the great thing is that even if you do, he's still right there. Right. That he's watching you. That he's watching you and he sees your pain and he's still in control. And he's still so merciful. And he'll get right in your boat. And he'll get right on that floor with you. And he'll get in that car with you when you're shouting yourself down. And he'll be in that job with you. In every dark place that you think you're alone in, he is right there in. And I just give him all the glory because he sees the things that we can't. When we just have no value in ourselves. And man, God can't use this. Like, who am I? You know, I'm just this girl with no self-esteem and all this depression and all this weight and all this burdens and all. Who am I? But God sees the value. God sees the things that we can't see. And every single day, he is written down in the book, and he will get the glory from. Every single day, we are on assignment, and we have purpose and a calling, and each one of us has one so specific that nobody else can do it. So can we do it? Can we get up and get out of our mess and see the miracle in it? Like, I just want to stop being afraid of the mess. I'm going to jump in this mess and watch what God will do with it. Because now we can go talk to hurting people. Now we can walk alongside of people in abuse and walk alongside people that are suicidal and say, look what God did with me. Look how he can help you. We can walk alongside people with addiction and depression and all these things and say, God brought me through it. Look what he can do. Just let me show you. And if we can just stop being so afraid of the mess and open up our eyes and get these filters off and allow him to work a miracle in it, he will. If we get desperate enough and low enough and just still enough, that he will just show up and show off. And I know this. I live this. There's nothing that I don't tell you guys that I don't live through. Every single day I have to shout myself down in the car and say, no. Today I will rejoice because it is a day that you have made, and I refuse for depression to get a hold of me. I refuse to allow these lies. I'm blessed to work at church. I'm blessed to get to serve. I'm blessed to be in his house because God knows where I was years ago. And I won't let the enemy lie to me. And I won't be stuck in the mess. But I will be chasing him through it because he is in everyone. And I want us to worship. And I want us to think about that. I want you to think about your mess. I want you to think about not like the easy one, okay? Like the real one. The one you even hide from yourself. The one that feels like a rut and it's constant and it's never changing. Tonight, that is no more because we are desperate. You're here. It's Tuesday night and we're going to give it to him. We're going to ask him to remove the filters and open up our hearts to the areas he wants us to throw at his feet. So we're going to worship again, but this way from a different standpoint, asking him to come into the mess. Open my eyes up in the mess. I'm not asking you to take it away. I'm asking you to make me stronger in it. I'm asking you to make me see you in it because I don't want to miss it. I can't miss it. I need you.